Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment, here to give my 2022-23 NFL season predictions. But before I get into that, we are yet again doing the SFE Pigskin, what do they call them? Pick'em League Challenge here on Sports Fan Entertainment. So I usually do it on the ESPN site. I have a link for that in the description below. Password is all lowercase SFE. $100 gift card goes to the winner. $100 Amazon gift card, more likely than not. I can give you like NFL.com or something if you really want. I don't really care. As long as it's like a legit website. I'm not giving you something for X videos. But yeah, $100 gift card, Amazon, NFL.com, pretty much wherever you want it to. Whoever comes in first place, whoever comes in second place will get, I'll give this year a $25 gift card. And then third place, you'll get a $10 gift card. That's your consolation prize. So that's the prize ladder this year for the SFE Pigskin Pick'em Challenge. So make sure to go down below and sign up for that if you have not already. And make sure you sign up before tomorrow or you will not be able to get your picks in, or at least your first pick in for that Thursday night football game. And for those of you that don't know what this is just a weekly challenge where you pick the games with me and against me and try to beat me. And by the way, if I win, I'm keeping the $100. I'm not giving it to the next person. No, it's going to me if I win it. So go ahead and try to defeat me by doing the SFE Pigskin Challenge. But with that said, now let's get into my 2022-23 NFL season predictions. And I feel like this is a very lame year for predictions. I feel like everyone's having a lot of similar predictions this year. You know me, I love to go bold. I love to be bold. I love to have, wild picks, picks that a lot of people wouldn't expect. I have a couple this year, but even then some teams you just know more likely than not are going to stink. There's no point in even saying they're going to be better than what you think they're going to be. And then some teams we just know they're going to be good. And look, this is relative because there's always going to be teams that get injured. There's always going to be teams that have COVID. There's always going to have teams that, deal with certain circumstances. But I feel like for most part, I should be within 2 to 3 wins for all of these predictions. I'd be very surprised if I wasn't. And last year, I was very accurate. I was one of the few that had the Titans 12-5. I was one of the few that said the Bengals were a sleeper. Now, I only had the Bengals at 8-9. Granted, I didn't have them at 10-7. But I had the Bengals at 8-9. So I was pretty good last year. And I ultimately had the LA Rams winning the Super Bowl. So I'm pretty damn good at this thing. Let's go ahead and get into it. And let's begin with the AFC East, where I have the Buffalo Bills winning this division at 12-5, but people, I believe it will be competitive. The Bills last year were not particularly impressive. I don't know why everyone keeps forgetting this. I know they weren't impressive in the divisional round, but that was just the divisional round. Oh, and also in the wild card round when they kicked the Patriots' ass. But they also lost to the Patriots a couple weeks prior to that. They lost to a lot of playoff teams last year, including the Tennessee Titans, I might add. They weren't as impressive as they were before when they went 13-3. They went from a 13-3 to 11-6. Now they're adding Von Miller, and I like that. But you're also losing Cole Beasley, who's still on the street, and Emmanuel Sanders. So there's some flux in the offense. There's also some new just the offensive line. I'm not completely. They're 12-5, so I have them very good, very good. But this idea that they're running away 14-3, they're Super Bowl favorites, I think people should relax. I wouldn't be surprised if they disappoint and go like a 10-7 because that's how unpredictable they can be. And speaking of, look out for the Miami Dolphins. I'm a Miami Dolphins stan this year. I think they're going to show up. I think they're going to compete for this division. They could win this division. I wouldn't be shocked. I had them losing it at 11-6, but I have them in the playoffs. I have the Miami Dolphins in the playoffs. I think Tua Tagovailoa is going to have a very good year. Now, it's going to be one of those years, though, where it's not going to completely convince me that he's a franchise quarterback. So, you know how with Ryan Tannehill, for instance, he's had a couple very good years and made the playoffs, and it's been great. But then a couple years later, now you're like, well, I don't know anymore. Same with Jimmy Garoppolo. Some of these quarterbacks, look, they can be great for a year or two, but then 3-4 years later, you're over it. I think that's going to happen with Tua. I think he's going to do just well enough, make the playoffs, do well. People will be convinced he's a franchise quarterback. Then a couple years later, he might get injured, you might start stinking, and then it's time to move on. I think that's the more likely scenario when it comes to Tua. I don't think he's going to be a bust. I don't think he's going to be a complete stud either. So I think this is going to be a nice year for the Dolphins. Patriots 8-9. Not really buying into the regression of Mac Jones. Apparently, the offense looks awful. I mean, I don't even know how they got away with their offense last year, to be honest with you. They lost J.C. Jackson on the defense. They also lost some other pieces. Offensive line is in disarray. They take a step back at 8-9. Jets 4-13. Still not buying it. Zach Wilson's not going to be available until week 4 now. I think he stinks anyway. He had a lot of potential coming out of BYU, but I think it's too late. I think he's one of the few quarterbacks that he just stinks. I think he's going to stink, and I think that's it. I think it's time to move on next year. I really do believe that. He shows some flashes, but I think he's just a quarterback that's just going to stink. And I think with him, he's just not going to be able to win, especially not with Flacco behind him. So they're already going to start off like 0-3, probably. So good luck to the Jets, 4-13, and they're already going to give up. All right, AFC North, Cincinnati Bengals, 12-5. And look, I mean, again, I was high on the Bengals last year. On the postseason, I didn't think they were going to go to the Super Bowl, but I thought they were going to perform well. They did. I like the schedule's a little difficult, but I think they can handle it. I think they're prepared to handle it. I think they're battle-tested at this point. Hopefully, they're not too young and they haven't let their egos get to them too much, assuming that's not the case. With the Bengals, they're 12-5. Ravens 11-6. And actually, let me remove my asterisk here. I made a last-minute call on this. So I did this using a playoff simulator. And in my playoff simulator, the Ravens made the playoff, and another team, the Broncos, didn't. But if you ask me to bet on one, I'd rather bet on the Broncos. Forget about the tiebreaker scenarios because I'm not going to get the schedule right anyway. So that's kind of irrelevant. I just have to go by feel. I still feel the Ravens are extremely strong, but I have 11-6 missing the playoffs in the AFC this year. I don't know if this is actually going to happen because cities are going to get injured. I think 10-7 most certainly will miss the playoffs in the AFC this year. 11-6, we'll see. I think it's very possible. I think the AFC is that strong, particularly the AFC West. So this is no indictment on the Ravens. This is a very good record. They're going to beat a lot of good teams this year, but I have them just missing on the playoffs because I trust the Broncos a little bit more this year. Steelers 10-7 missing the playoffs. Big Ben was awful last year. So if they can get Trubisky or Kenny Pickett to play just okay, it's a marginal improvement for the Steelers there. Now, I don't actually like the progression of their defense right now. I don't think they've been replacing their older talent well at all. And also on that offensive line. So they're remaining stagnant to me. They should be just as good as they were last year when they went 9-7-1. So I have them 10-7. Browns 5-12. Look, it's going to be an awful start with Jacoby Brissett, and then Deshaun Watson was showing rust when he came back in the preseason. I think that rust continues. I think he'll go maybe 3-3 in his return or something like that, but it's not going to be good enough. The Browns will have given up at that point in preparing for 2023. I have them 5-12. Tennessee Titans 10-7. Yes, winning the AFC South. Now, again, I have some reservations, and these have been added to now that Harold Landry is now out for this season. While I'm okay with the addition of Robert Woods, and I'm impressed and intrigued by Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks is still definitively wide receiver number 3 behind Nick Akina. I don't know if Treylon Burks is going to get 800 yards this year. He probably won't. So, probably looking like 600-700 for him, and I'd be fine with that, but that's probably what you're looking at. So you can't rely upon Treylon Burks or Nick Akina for significant receiver production. Even Robert Woods. Robert Woods breaks 1,000, great. I'm not sure he's going to do that. He's only done it twice in his career, and that's like over 2 years ago. It should be 3 seasons ago the last time Robert Woods even broke 1,000 yards for the Rams. So I'm not convinced in the passing game. And then Derrick Henry's still working his way back from the list, Frank. Defense, I want to see what these young kids do, but there were young kids in the secondary, Roger McCurry and Kevin Farley. So right now it's just 10-7, and it's a difficult schedule. Colts 9-8, I'm not buying it. Have you people been watching Matt Ryan? He's not that good. The Falcons happily moved on to no one, to my boy, Marcus Mariota, but there was no plan. It's not like that's some extravagant plan to get some young quarterback. They just said, let's get Matt Ryan out of here. Let's pay him money to play anywhere but here. Even though he's old as hell, and I know that, if he was decent, why would they not just keep him as a veteran so that way he could be a good veteran quarterback for that team? Unless if you just want to make a taking argument, that's a decent argument. But also the argument is that he's not that good anymore. Trust me. And I don't know. I think people are getting their expectations way too. Phillip Rivers is better at this point in his career than Matt Ryan is whenever he joined the Colts. When Rivers joined the Colts, he was better than Matt Ryan joining the Colts. Okay, and that one, they went 11-5. They did well. Matt Ryan's not that good right now. So I think people are going to be very disappointed in Matt Ryan and what he does this year, and in the Colts in general. I think they're going to contend for the playoffs, but we'll see if they actually. I mean, it contends for the division. I don't think for the wild card. Jonathan Taylor's great, but that's not good enough for me. I have them 9-8. Jaguars 5-12. Now there's potential for 7 or 8 here, 100%. But the thing is this: they're going to be a team that does well based on other teams getting injured, right? So I can only give you 5 wins. If I'm going down the schedule, I can only count 5 games that I can say W. I can't do it for more than 5 games. Come on, what are you talking about? It's probably going to be 6 or 7. But for right now, I have to say 12. For the Texans, I'm saying 3, and I want to say 4, but I'll say 3. They'll be around, but they still stink and good. Okay, AFC West. We have the LA Chargers. Of the Chargers going 12-5, extremely strong. Now, part of me is kind of afraid that they're going to choke because expectations are being thrust upon them. But in my opinion, I really think you're talking about combining Bosa and Khalil Mack and Derwin James in this offense. I mean, how can you screw that up? They should be 12-5, even with Brandon Staley making some odd decisions at times. Chiefs 11-6. I still have them strong. When you have Mahomes back there, I'm not betting against you to miss the playoffs. It's just a situation when you have a Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady level talent. They're not going to miss the playoffs. They're just not. I'm sorry. You can do whatever you want to do. You can take away their defense, take away their running game. As long as they're healthy, the team is still going to make the playoffs at least 90% of the time, if not every time. Really every time. So I have the Chiefs still making the playoffs. And then I have the Broncos 11-6. Let's ride. I mean, look, man, I'm buying the Russell Wilson hype. Again, it's going to be right on the edge between them and the Ravens. One of them is probably going to get injured, or another team, and then they'll both get in. But for right now, that's what I have. Raiders 9-8. See, here's the thing about the Raiders. Yes, they made the playoffs last year, and no one was expecting them to do that, and it was a hell of a run. Negative point differential, won a lot of close games. Don't like that as a model. I like teams generally years after you had a positive point differential and maybe you got a couple bad breaks, as opposed to teams that had a negative point differential and got a little lucky. And the Raiders got a little lucky. They won a lot of close games that now won't go their way. So 9-8, it'll seem like a regression on paper, but they'll be a better and more consistent team if you're actually paying attention. All right, so that'd be a good test for some people. We move on to the NFC. Oh, no, those are the awards. There we go. The NFC, we begin with the NFC East. Philadelphia Eagles, 10-7. Right now, it's right between them and the Cowboys. For me, to be honest, I don't really care who's going to win the division. I just have a feeling it's going to be the Eagles because it kind of rotates, and I feel like it's going to rotate this year. That's my rationale. But I have them having the same record, so who cares what the tiebreakers are going to? I guess you care if you're one of the fans. I'm not. Cowboys, 10-7. Again, they're going to be there. There's going to be some drama. Mike McCarthy stinks. So they're still going to have a lot of penalties. Offensive line, there's some questions there. I expect Dak Prescott to have a worse season statistically. I expect Ezekiel Elliott to fall off a cliff finally. Honestly, if I were them, I would consider starting Tony Pollard at this point. I think he's more efficient. Washington Commanders, 7-10. Now, this could easily be 8-9 or 9-8 if they catch some breaks, and they likely will. But again, when I'm going through the schedule, I can only count 7 for the Commanders. But they'll be in playoff contention because I don't have much faith in the NFC right now. So this 7-10 is actually pretty strong. I mean, I know it doesn't seem strong. I know this doesn't get you excited because it's the same record you had last year. But, with Carson Wentz under center, that's a massive improvement. I just wish Chase Young was healthy the whole year. If Chase Young was healthy the whole year, I definitely would put 8 or 9 here. He makes that big of a difference. But he's not, so I can't. All right, New York Giants, 5-12. Yeah, you guys still stink. I kind of wanted to even go like 3 or 4 here, to be honest with you. But I feel like no, like Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal and Wendell Johnson or whatever his last name is. Wendell, the rookie guys drafted in the second round. Kadarius Toney, his development. You guys should be Barkley's back. Like, it should be an improvement. It should be, but only marginally because Daniel Jones stinks. And we all know that, and we can't wait for you to move on. All right, NFC North. Green Bay Packers 10-7. Still winning the NFC North only because they'll still have a strong run game and a strong defense despite having weaker wide receivers. This will be one of Rodgers' lesser passing touchdown seasons for sure. Probably one of his lesser statistical seasons. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what he was thinking outside of just the dollar signs when he took the contract that he took. But whatever. That's Aaron Rodgers for you. Vikings 10-7. I would have liked to pick them to win the division. They just normally don't. It's normally Green Bay. So I feel like, why am I going to go out on a limb? Plus, I'm seeing like a Colin Cowherd saying, I love the Vikings this year. I have them going 13-4. I'm like, dude, this is the same team. Like, I mean, outside of Mike Zimmer being gone and a different head coach in there, I mean, it's the same quarterback, same running back, same two wide receivers, same tight end. We've been talking about the offensive line's a little different, but we've been talking about this same team for 3 years. I mean, except for Justin Jefferson. I guess he's only been for 2 years now. But for 3 years, it's been the same team. So why am I going to expect them to do significantly more? They'll be around the same thing. I have them 10-7. Lions 7-10. Significant improvement. I love Aiden Hutchinson. This guy's going to be a beast. I don't know what the Jaguars were thinking with taking Travon Walker over him. Now, he still has more upside, I guess. Dumb. Aiden Hutchinson it's like taking, I think he's slightly lesser than a Bosa. Just slightly. It's a surefire 100% pick. What are you doing? Take the Pro Bowl white defensive end. It's really just that simple. I don't know why the Jaguars couldn't do this so easily. So the Lions did that. They just took the defensive rookie of the year. I guarantee it. I'm guaranteeing that. And he's going to have a massive impact, as with the continued development of Amon-Ra St. Brown. All right, we have the Chicago Bears, 4-13. Yeah, I don't care about Justin Fields. And he's still going to run around and do his thing, but they didn't add anything at wide receiver. They added nothing. I mean, they're one Darnell Mooney injury away from having literally nothing but Cole Kmet. It's ridiculous. Their running back, David Montgomery's average. The backup there is fine, and Hilbert. But it's just nothing exciting in Chicago. I think this whole regime is still a disaster as long as Justin Fields is under center. NFC South, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have 11-6 listed here. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to stick with that. I might have wanted to change it, but I'll stick with 11-6. You know, some offensive line problems. It'll look more like Tampa Bay looked when they won the Super Bowl, granted, like in year one in the regular season than last year in the regular season where they were more dominant. Is that going to bode better for the playoffs? I don't think so, but maybe. Because, again, they look better in the regular season last year than they did when they won the Super Bowl. But they're going to look closer how they did, probably worse than they did in their first year. Like, slightly worse. We'll see on that front. But the offensive line is not great right now. All right, New Orleans Saints 8-9. Jameis Winston's why. Look, I was a big famous Jameis supporter, big famous Jameis guy. Yeah, he's too inconsistent. He played well last year when he was healthy. I'm not buying it. I don't think he's figured out a damn thing. I think he's going to go out there and do some buffoonery. I think if you would have played him for the rest of the season, he would have turned right back into old famous Jameis in the NFL, throwing picks, being dumb again. I think that's just who he is. I don't think it's going to change, and the Saints will be inconsistent as a result. Carolina Panthers, 6-11. I think Baker Mayfield's going to do okay. I think he's going to have a season very reminiscent to a Matt Ryan of last year. 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, do fine. Not enough for you to be convinced that he's a franchise quarterback and for you to not draft a quarterback next year, but he's going to do fine. And he's going to do, I think, very well week one against the Browns. I think he has a lot to prove. Atlanta Falcons, 5-12. I think my boy Mario is going to have some nice performances, but there's just not enough firepower here. The wide receivers, like, I'm intrigued by Drake London. That's all they have. They have Olamide Zacchaeus. I mean, come on. And then the running back situation, they're still trying to Cordell Patterson. It's just weird. The whole team is just, it's a weird team. It's very odd. And the defense is horrible. So I can't have the Falcons doing very well. But I also don't think they're going to be a 2 or 3 win team like some people did. It's very similar to like the old Tennessee Titans bad teams that we had. We had far too many of in the past. NFC West. LA Rams 13-4. Okay, so still very strong. And I know the schedule is difficult, but man, they're still stacked, yo. When you have Matthew Stafford at the quarterback position, when you have Cooper Kupp, maybe the best wide receiver in the NFL at the wide receiver position, you definitely have the best offensive player in the NFL, Aaron Donald. You have Bobby Wagner. How the hell anyone let y'all sign him is still beyond me. And Jalen Ramsey, I mean, you're still an elite team. You're still an elite team. You're still the best team on paper in the NFL. No one has that many good position groups, that many elite position groups in the NFL. No one. So it's still 13-4 to me, even in this division, which, by the way, I think is slightly overrated this year. All right, Cardinals 10-7. I think Kyler Murray is still showing potential, but I think he's kind of capped with Cliff Kingsbury. I think he's always going to have some dud performances. I think he needs a different coach that's really going to push him to be much more of like, a cerebral quarterback, a guy that studies more than 4 hours a week. And I don't think they have that right now. I think they're just relying on his physical talent. I think Marquise Brown will come in and do well, but I think Kyler might get hurt again. I think it'll be fun. I think it's always fun. They're fun to watch, but they keep flaming out in these games late in the season and bad. Like, they're not even close late in the season when it comes to some of these games. Like, that playoff game was not even close last year against LA. So I only have them 10-7, but I still have them making the playoffs. 49ers, this would be controversial, only 9-8. Trey Lance, I think, is going to take some time, people. Now, it depends how much they run him. It looks like they're going to run him a decent amount. They really use his legs. They use him it's not going to be Lamar level. Dear God, nothing is Lamar level, or nearing that. Then I think they'll be better, but I think they want him to throw. And I don't think he's a better pocket passer than Jimmy Garoppolo at this point. I think he's going to throw interceptions. I think he's going to struggle being consistent. I think this 49ers offense will be inconsistent as a result. I think that their corners are not as good as people are saying that they are. And I think also their safeties as well. And as a result, only have 9-8 this year for the 49ers. Remember, they were inconsistent last year. They didn't show up for half the year, and that was with Garoppolo under center. All right, and then we have the Seattle Seahawks 3-14. They're starting Geno Smith, for God's sake. I mean, my goodness. I know they still have DK Metcalf. I know they still have Tyler Lockett. They're going to throw in the towel, okay, after a couple of weeks, and then that'll be all she wrote for Seattle. But good for them. It's a good strategy to tank. If I was Pete Carroll, I would have took off this year. I don't want this on my NFL record, and I would have came back next year when we can draft C.J. Stroud. But he decided not to do that. So this 3-14 is going on his record. All right, so with that said, let's move on to my postseason predictions in the AFC. I got the Chargers versus the Chiefs. Again, I'm just hoping that, look, Herbert has never, okay, I'm not going to say he's never. Herbert has not done much in these late game situations for me to doubt him. But it's always something that you need to see first, or at least I'd like to see first. So I'm making a bit of a gamble that they're able to win in the playoffs. Look, Lamar hasn't been to the AFC Championship game. I'm already saying that Justin Herbert will. Okay, so that's kind of, bold to say, but I think they're just that strong of a team. I'd be surprised if they miss it. And then the Chiefs. I mean, we're in a LeBron James situation here when it comes to Patrick Mahomes, people. He's making the AFC Championship game. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. And until I don't see it happen, that's what I have happening. Until the roster is significantly worse than it is. Because again, while they lost Tyreek, they added wide receivers that to me are going to do some things. I think Judah's going to have a resurgence. I think McCall Hardman is going to take a step forward. I think Marquez is going to do fine. I think Sky Moore is going to end up getting a decent 600 yards and even being a threat on that end. So it's going to be interesting. Let me tell you, I wanted to be very bold here and pick the Broncos. I wanted to. I really wanted to. I think they're a year away. But I'm going to pick Russ Wilson to win a Super Bowl in Denver probably next year if they continue to develop the roster. But the loss of Tim Patrick hurt, and I think Bradley Chubb just can't stay healthy. So I can't really trust the pass rush. And losing Shelby Harris hurt. I mean, and Noah Fant. I mean, people don't forget about those. Those are two very good players that they also traded away. So that also hurts their team. So their defense is going to be worse this year. And, they're having a worse tight end situation. So I couldn't go Broncos. I wanted to. And then the Titans, to me, almost no consideration. I see just no way they're going to win the Super Bowl this year with this wide receiver core. Forget about it. I mean, Derrick Henry would literally have to carry the entire team, even more so than he did 2 years ago. And that's just not happening, people. It's just not in this AFC. It's way too stacked. Sorry, Titans fans. There's no chance in hell. Unless if we trade for a wide receiver or Traylon Burks ends up being Odell Beckham III or Juniors. Well, he would be the third, maybe the third edition of him. But unless he ends up having that sort of rookie year, forget about it. I don't want to hear about no Titans Super Bowl this year. Good luck next year. Let's go get a wide receiver in the draft. Let's go trade up for Jackson Smith Ninja, or whatever his name is at Ohio State, and then maybe we can have a conversation. All right. Winner of this, though, I'm going with the Chiefs. Just because, again, I trust them more. And I know it's odd, but people are sleeping on the Chiefs' defense. They improved 2 first-round picks on the defense. We've been asking them to add to the defense. They continue to draft on the defense, so they're getting younger defensively. They added Carlos Dunlap, who, yes, is a veteran, can still play. I like that addition to their pass rush. I think they could easily make it back to the Super Bowl, and that's what I have happening. But this AFC is stacked. It could be anybody. Well, not anybody. It could be the Bills. It could be the Chiefs. It could be the Chargers. And then I will personally say it could be the Broncos. I mean, it really, to me, can be any of those. And I also could say it could be the Bengals and the Ravens. I could forget about them. Bengals, I just don't feel like they're not gonna be that dominant of a dynasty or anything like that. I just feel like it's going to be divisional out for them. That's what it feels like. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. That's what most teams do. After, going to a Super Bowl and making the number 1 seed the next year, they'll lose the divisional round. Look at the 49ers, look at the Seahawks, look at the da-da-da-da-da-da. There's so many examples of this. That's what I expected the Bengals this year, to follow that sort of formula. All right. So with that said, we move on to, where is my NFC Championship? There it is. We have the Los Angeles Rams versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. Okay, here's my thing with the NFC. I would really have to go out on a limb to pick, I think, anyone other than these two teams. I mean, I just don't see it. The 49ers, I can see why people are picking them. Again, without having seen an extended amount of Trey Lance, I'm not going on the record and saying that, okay, this is going to be the guy that's going to move them forward. I've seen a consistency. That's what I've seen. That's what I've heard. So I'm not going to go on the Trey Lance 49ers bandwagon. The Packers, if they couldn't win last year, why are they going to win this year? Forget about that. The Bucks are still better to me. Although the Packers could make it here, sure. They could absolutely make it. They could beat the Bucks in the division round and end up here. Fine. They're not going to win. The Rams are too dominant. To me, they're too far and away the best team, best roster in the NFC. It's far and away to me. I mean, I'm shocked that more people are not picking them to repeat as a number 1 seed. As long as Stafford doesn't choke. And hell, last year he had 17 interceptions, and they still, were the best team in the NFC. So if he can get away with that, I think he's going to be more efficient this year. Another year in the Sean McVay system. Give me the Rams to win this one. So ultimately, we have Super Bowl 57. We have the Kansas City Chiefs versus the LA Rams, 2 former Super Bowl winners in recent history. Patrick Mahomes versus Matthew Stafford here. And I'm going to go with the Chiefs just because I don't like picking Super Bowl repeats, even though I still love the Rams roster. And it is stacked, and it's better than the Chiefs roster. I just don't like picking repeats. I feel like going to another Super Bowl again, would they really be hungry enough to repeat this Rams team? I don't know about that. I feel more comfortable if it was a Patriots team of old, obviously, not of now. Or teams like that. It's just too difficult for me to pick. So in a year where everyone's low on the Chiefs, I'm high on the Chiefs. What a time to buy low. Okay, everyone wants to buy low on them. I'll buy high. And then I trust Mahomes to get me to at least to the playoffs. I know he's going to do that. I know he's going to provide magic when he does. So I have the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl next year. With that said, let's also look at my awards for this season. By the way, I looked at my awards for last season. Oh, I was impeccable. I had Offensive Player of the Year, Cooper Kupp. I had Defensive Player of the Year in TJ Watt. I had Offensive Rookie of the Year in Jamar Chase. I had Defensive Player of the Year in Micah Parsons. All before the season, I had all that. I was beautiful. Now, quarterback had Kyler Murray. Yeesh. But outside of that, I was great. So let's get some of that repeat magic now. Justin Herbert as my MVP. Again, I just think the Chargers are too strong. Now, this could easily be Stafford. I mean, I think it could easily be Stafford, but I think the Rams' defense is so dominant. I don't know if he'll get it with winning MVP. Plus, Herbert's going to have the rushing stats that Stafford will not. Offensive Player of the Year, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he should continue to go off, and I think he's going to need to because, again, I don't have much faith in Matt Ryan. I don't know where this faith in Matt Ryan is coming from. Defensive Player of the Year, surprise here, Nick Bosa. I think Nick Bosa is going to make a claim to the throne. Look, they kind of like to rotate this Defensive Player of the Year to a certain extent. It's like rotating between everyone but Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is the only one that can really dominate it. And I feel like it's one of the Bosa's turn, and I like Nick Bosa this year, so I'm going with Nick Bosa to be Defensive Player of the Year. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Drake London, who people are sleeping on because, he's working with Mariota. But look, I don't like any other wide receivers right now. I'm hearing good things about George Pickens. I'm not seeing them yet. I mean, maybe I will. I don't know. And then Dameon Pierce is going to play. So, I mean, he's definitely a possibility just because he's going to play. But, I mean, outside of that, he's lower draft capital. What reason do we have to believe that he's actually going to play particularly well? None other than he's just Houston's starter. That's literally the only reason we have to believe he's going to do particularly well. And then the other wide receivers, Chris Olave, we'll look out for Jahar Dotson. We don't know anything about these rookie wide receivers right now and how really they're going to be using any of these offenses. That's why I've been staying away in fantasy, and hopefully you have been too, outside of Flyers. Defensive Rookie of the Year, it's going to be Aiden Hutchinson, people, and it's not going to be particularly close. This guy's going to come in and dominate the league. Get ready. It's going to be bad. Coach of the Year, Brandon Staley. This was close for me between Staley. I don't think they're going to give it to McVay again, although I do have the Rams having the best record in the regular season. I could see Nick Sirianni winning this, but they also went 9-8 last year. Only have them 10-7 this year. How significant of an improvement is that? Not particularly one. The Jaguars end up doing well, getting a winning record somehow. Could easily be Doug Peterson. There are some possibilities. There are possibilities elsewhere. The Raiders end up being an actual contender. I don't see that. It could be Josh McDaniels, Nathaniel Hackett, also a possibility here. Could have easily went him. Could have easily went Nathaniel Hackett. In fact, I probably should have. Maybe now I'm thinking maybe should have went with him. They probably vote for him over Staley since he's a first-year head coach, but it's too late now. And then comeback player of the year, Christian McCaffrey of the Carolina Panthers. And there's no doubt in hell to me. And also that's not because I drafted him in fantasy in one league, in a $25 league, and I need him to play well. So please, Christian McCaffrey, please be healthy and play well, please. Okay, so with that said, we're going to move into the chat. If you guys have any questions you want me to answer in the chat, I will answer. At me in the chat at Sports for Entertainment. Always note that super chats get preference. And again, if you're joining us later, I will mention again to join the SFE Pigskin Pick'em League. This is the league in which you can make weekly picks against me. By the way, I'll be back tomorrow for my weekly picks. I will have them up before the game, so don't worry about that. Make sure to join the SFE Pigskin Pick'em League Challenge. The link is in the description. Password is lowercase SFE. $100 to the first prize winner. $25 to second place winner. Third prize to $10, to the third prize. Okay, so we have one question here from Codex 655. Do you play Wario? No, I do not. And I keep hearing about this. And as a nerd, I should know more about this. But no, I did not play Wario. We have a couple comments. Let's see. I'll scroll back. We have Chase Oliver 68 in the building. I should make him a moderator. Congratulations, Chase. You are now a moderator. He says he thinks that the Jaguars might be a surprise team this year. Look, I could see it. Again, I could only give them 5 wins. I can't go through the schedule and give them more than 5 wins. But luckily now that Urban Meyer isn't down there, kicking people and, grinding on college girls and And what else was this guy doing? Making players cry, and I mean, just acting like an absolute menace. I could definitely see that. But unfortunately, again, they're not that good. The offensive line still needs improvement. I don't like their wide receivers. I think Christian Kirk is only okay. I think Marvin Jones, I can't believe he put up the numbers he put up last year outside of just having a large target share. He's not good anymore. He doesn't separate. So I don't know where that's coming from. Evan Ingram, we'll see. But he's been bad the last couple years. I still think he has potential, but we'll see. I don't know. He's kind of overpaid. And then defensively, they're bad. They're still bad defensively. So they still have improvements to make before I can say, yeah, they're going to win 6, 7, 8, 9 games. I know some people think that, but we'll see on that account. All right. Yeah, Sports Talk TV that says Broncos are overrated, and I don't think the Rams will make the Super Bowl. Again, I don't think the Broncos are overrated. When you're talking about having Russell Wilson going to Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy are now going to be Pro Bowl level wide receivers. Courtland Sutton will make the Pro Bowl, I guarantee. This year he's going to have over 1,200 receiving yards. You heard that first, probably over 1,400. Honestly, it's going to be that crazy from Courtland Sutton, assuming he stays healthy. Jerry Jeudy is going to break 1,000. Even their tight end, Albert O. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He's going to break 600-700 yards. He's going to pop off for the first time in his career. The defense is legit. Now, it's a little worse. I don't like the fact that, again, Bradley Chubb gets hurt a lot. Don't like that. And then who's the defensive end they have opposite of him right now? Can't remember, but yeah, missing Shelby Harris is going to hurt, but Justin Simmons is still a beast for their safety. Patrick Surtain may end up being a Pro Bowler, probably will this season, so there's a lot of pieces. Broncos are definitely not overrated. Now, the division is going to be difficult. If the Broncos only end up winning 9 games, it's going to be because of the division. But in terms of them on paper, you put them in the AFC North, you put them in the NFC East, my God. NFC East would be a 12-win team, 13-win team. They're not overrated. And trust me, they're not overrated. They're going to prove that too. Remember, only 2 years ago, the Seahawks were 12-4. Okay? With a roster that's not much better than what they had last year. Last year, just there was drama, there was injuries, and then things went wrong. But the year before that, they went 12-4 with Russell Wilson at the helm. So let's not forget about that. And that was with the worst record that I'd argue that the Broncos have right now. So, yeah. All right. So Zeke Gonzalez says Colts over Titans. We'll see about that. Codex 655 has one more question. Do you think the Bengals run last year was a fluke? No. I always knew they had potential, way more potential than people were giving them credit for. The only thing that was fluke-ish about it, I mean, they won a lot of close games, and I don't have that happening again. That's why I have them losing the division around. But I have them being the number 1 seed because I think they're a very strong team, and they're going to continue to be a strong team for years to come. But the defense still needs improvements. And then Zeke Gondaldi says, sleeping on the Saints got healthy and better this offseason. Well, I don't trust Jameis. I don't trust Jameis Winston. As long as you have Jameis Winston, I don't trust it. Look, the Bucs had a decent roster when Jameis Winston was there. He can only take them to 7-9. The minute they got Brady, boom, they went 11-5. They made the playoffs. They won the Super Bowl. That's what I believe in Jameis Winston still. Okay, I still believe that. Now, I'll argue you guys have a better roster now than the Bucs had when they won the Super Bowl. Well, actually, would I argue that? I don't know if I'd argue that. In fact, I won't argue that. So, yeah, I'm not arguing that. But, the loss of Teron Armstead, and I know you guys kind of replaced him. But some other things that I'm just uncomfortable with. And also Dennis Allen. This is, guys, going from Sean Payton to Dennis Allen is no good. Dennis Allen was a bad head coach in this league. So that also is going to hurt. So I don't think I'm sleeping on the Saints at all. So with that said, that's going to do it for me here on Sports Fan Entertainment. Those are my 2022-2023 NFL preseason predictions. What are your predictions? Comment down below. I want to know. Again, I'll be back tomorrow for my week 1 picks and predictions right before the game start. That'll be fun as always. And until next time, this has been MJ of Sports Fan Entertainment. And I'm out. See you all later.